What's up, guys? Today we are here with the new patch for Waven, the 0.13 patch. I have kind of given it a read through to just kind of see what was going on, to see if my class got nerfed. Uh, we gonna talk about it. Let's go ahead and jump right straight into everything here. First off, we got the new battle pass progression. So beforehand, you had to basically do 2 fights and you would clear 1 node of the battle pass that you were on. Whenever the upcoming season releases, then we'll be able to see what the new type of deal is. They do say here, though, it says to complete it you gotta earn 150 out of 200 stars per week. That's a lot different than just doing, you know, your fights and then boom, it's done. Now I will say I do love the ease of that feeling, like, oh man, maybe I'm late to the battle pass, you know, maybe I didn't get to farm as much this week or whatever. Let me knock out some fights real quick, bada bing bada boom, I'm done. Okay, depending on what these are going to be, if they are more engaging, I'll definitely take that compared to just, you know, no brain, oh, I completed the entire thing, I didn't even realize I completed it. So I am looking forward to this. This competitive island, this was talking about some PvP. It says head to the middle of the competitive island on Tuesday. A lot of things are going to be happening on Tuesday the 24th. So I believe that should be a week from now. Yeah, it'll be a week from now, next Tuesday. So that's going to be interesting. We'll see what they have out for us there. It is interesting because it says the survivors will rise to the top of the rankings to earn even more rewards. This mode will shake things up. So, you know, maybe we're going to be doing a lot of PvP. I don't really know. I am interested to see what they have for us. This Albura Land Ho, new chest, everything, da-da-da. This is what is intriguing to me right here. All sorts of new themed things, equipment, spells, and companions will challenge your theory crafting. That, to me, ooh, buddy, yes, I'd love to see that. I'm very excited for that. Then it also says collectors should take a trip to the Cab Rock and Miranda store starting on October 24th to see how stuff works. Changes in how Wakfu fragments are obtained. They cannot be obtained from fights against monarchs and demi-bosses. So basically the brooches, the upgrade runes, have now replaced their rewards. I would assume the way that that works now, I haven't gotten the chance to test it. I read most of this while I was on the throne, if you know what I mean. And if you don't know what I mean, that's okay. I read most of this a little while ago. And so I'm curious if we equip the brooches, then we turn around and we'll just get a random set of runes. So maybe on this fight I'll get equipment runes, maybe on the next fight I'll get companion runes, the next fight I'll get spell runes, you know, and then it just changes it up. I'm curious to see how that'll work, because being able to choose which one I pick, or excuse me, which one that I buy for the Wakfu fragments made it very nice. But depending on how things are changed up, we're gonna see how it goes. And then it says if that isn't enough, prove yourself on the competitive island. So they are really pushing this competitive island thing right here quite a lot. And then it says refunds of invested resources. I do remember them mentioning that they were going to say, hey, you know, if we change up an item or we change up a companion or whatever, we're going to refund you the stuff so that way you don't feel like you get cucked, basically. You know, putting in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of grinding, and then just for them to change something up. And then you say, well, damn, all the things that I just invested hard into are now obsolete, and so what now? You want me to go and farm all this stuff again? And they was like, nah man, we gonna do y'all good and we gonna refund it for you if we change stuff. So that's something that they implemented. Now let's get into the classes and heroes. Now for those of you that don't know, I do play Crawl. That is currently like my main one that I'm playing, and I do play the Shaden Shiru, or Shiro, however you say it. The TP archer that does damage and heals at the same time on every TP. That one is just super fun to me. I'm really enjoying it. So let's go ahead and roll through this. I don't know many of the classes, but I will say, just kind of point out what I'm seeing as, you know, buffs or nerfs or something in between them. I don't know. Now, one thing that the general thing, the player's summonees per level, health, and attack, they go from 4% to 5%. And then the base collision damage goes down. So collision takes a little hit, but our summonees, I'm not really sure which ones those are, because I'm thinking the companions, the things that I summon, but then our summonees, like for instance, there's a Yop class that has a little ghost. Is that considered a summonee? The eniripsa that has the little the tamashi balls or whatever, is that a summonee? You know, that's kind of where I'm looking at for that, for the health and attack. But on this, for the Craw, Crushing Shot has been replaced by Silty Shot. So Silty Shot goes as just a default spell now. And then for the Ether Spell Patient Shot, they do get a buff from 30 to 40% every time you trigger a combo. So a little bit of extra spice to it. Now the Pivin Bow, this is one of my boys' classes. Shout out to Yotes. Also, screw you Yotes, and y'all figure out why later. We saying they used to inflict 50% of their attack, now they're doing 60%, so a nice little buff. They were also saying that this hero lacked power compared to the other Craws. We've adjusted their passive upwards to develop their potential more fully. So we're going to see a bunch of buffs here, 50% to 60%, 30% to 50%, and then it says it used to go, also triggers their passive on the opponent with the most health. Now it's when your hero releases the dart, it triggers on with the least health. So that's going to be very interesting. Maybe that'll change some stuff up. I don't really know. But that could be very, very, very interesting. I'm looking for the one that says 6% on their target. I thought there was one that did like in a line. Maybe that's something completely different. I don't know. Or maybe that was the one that was untouched. Okay, that could be interesting. Boonblade. This hero sets himself apart as a master of affinity rings. Their passive and the interest to be found in using low-cost spells easily lets them reach their optimum potential in builds that take advantage of this. However, 2 of their passives were clearly below the others and have been adjusted. So the first one is, it used to be 25% to your spell damage. When you play a spell, you discard another one at random. Now they're giving you 40%. Still discarding one at random doesn't really sound like the greatest thing to me. I don't know anything about the Boomblade, but it doesn't really sound that great from the outside looking in. The next one, at the end of the turn, you get plus 20% attack to the hero per card drawn during this turn until the end of your next turn. So that's pretty big, right? But now they're saying instead of 20, we're going to give you 30% every time you do that. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. And then on this one, when you play a spell costing 3 action points or less, excuse me, you get 20% attack to your hero, 20% spell damage for the turn. Now it's 25% attack and spell damage. The Blunderbuss. Now, I'm going to be real. I grouped with somebody and we did gold brooches in Bork. And I think we were doing like level 60 gold brooches or maybe level 80. I think 60 or 80. And by like turn 2 or 3, homie had like little peewees out. And he would literally just solo the entire room by the end of like the 3rd turn. So I made a blunderbuss and got it to 30, and I haven't really gotten to invest too much into it just yet. But here we are. It says, however, they were undeniably too powerful. So yeah, killing a gold brooch by the end of turn 3, I think that is pretty strong. I ain't gonna lie. But I was looking at it, and without knowing too much about the class, I did kind of see where I think the nerf happened. So they do get a buff on this one. Instead of 100% damage, it's 110%. And then again a buff here, 100% it used to be, now it's 110% on this one. Now this is where the nerfs happen, or at least what I think are nerfs, right? I don't play the class like that, but just reading this, I would say that this is a nerf. Okay, so it used to be your companions gain the same dart aura, but then you get the 100% to your hero's dart aura damage, right? Now this whole thing right here is just gone. When your hero gains 1 dart aura, your companion gains the same, and that's it. That's where they leaving it at. Okay, that's I feel like, you know, that could be potentially fair, or that could have just nerfed it into the ground. I don't really know. And then we also have the last one. Instead of you're doing the line damage, you get 100% to your hero's dart aura damage. Instead of just knocking that line out, they just brought it down to 70% instead. So again, I don't know how big of a nerf that is overall. Maybe, you know, people are gonna go back to the drawing board, think of something different, go from there. Not really too sure, but I do know that one dude made me want to make this class, and now after seeing this, I'm gonna have to just tone back a little bit, maybe broaden my horizons to a different class. Now, for the Shade and Shiru, this is my class, man. This is why I was saying screw you, Yotes. Because last night, when the game went down for maintenance, he was like, yeah, your class ain't safe. He's like, you gonna get nerfed. And I'm like, dude, why would you wish a nerf on me? I'm literally here healing you. I'm healing you, man. Like, why would you wish that? You know what I'm saying? And so then it says, this here is in a good place power-wise and excels in movement. We've lowered their hitting power and shortened up their gameplay around improving spells in hand. So the Shade and Energy, you get 30% to the damage of your spells in hand, but they go up 1 action point. I never use this, so it don't matter to me. Now it does 50%. Now this is what matters to me. Alright? Shade and Concentration. When you hear it teleports, 10%. Now it goes up to 20%. I didn't use this one, but this is the one. Alright? When your hero teleports, inflicts 5% of their max health on opponents in line with them. Okay? Now, it's when your hero teleports, inflicts 4% of their max health. So instead of going from what I believe at max used to be 175 on the teleport, it's now 140 on the teleport. So actually, when I was on the throne, I thought this affected my heals. This actually just affects my damage. So I lose damage, I keep my heals. So now my clears are gonna be a little bit slower. But that's fine. That's fine. That's cool. I'm not as upset now because at least if I'm still healing the 175 on the teleport, I feel totally okay with that. The damage, you know, had to find a way to get around that, but at the end of the day, as long as the healing's fine, that'll let me play a little bit more with the group play, kind of play around that, let them do some damage, and then if they about to get slapped, you know, just heal them up, but for solo play, this does kind of suck. It looks like, oh, 1%, not that big a deal, but 175 down to 140, and that's at max potential. Right now, I'm not even at max potential. Before the patch, I was doing 163 on the damage per teleport. Now you're gonna tell me I ain't even gonna be doing, you know, I'm going way under that now. So that does suck, but it is what it is. I also do have this class at like 35 or so, and I promise you I could not understand anything about this, and it really made me upset because I really thought that the Craw was like, or the Zenderzo was pretty cool. But it says the last version of this hero was overpowerful, able to finish off the game content in one turn. Man, if only I knew about it then. Now their power level is within the average range for other classes and heroes. So the powerful darts now have the precision. The damage is based on your elemental magic to improve the understanding of this hero. So I believe that means it's based off of your spell damage, your spell percentages that you have. That's just what I'm taking that in as. Haven't really tested it, don't really know for sure. That's just what I'm understanding from reading this, okay? So then we go, when you play a spell, it used to be 15% extra for the turn, and now it's when you play a spell, it's 20% extra for the turn. 25% to your hero's dart aura damage when you play a spell, plus 20% for the extra for the turn. So that's a buff. That's a buff. But I might have to go back because I believe this is the one that I do use. I use this one, and then I use the one that does damage in a line. So I'll have to check this one out. Then we also say when you play a spell, you used to get 50, now you get 60%. I didn't use this, so I mean it doesn't really, you know, it is what it is. A buff is a buff. Hey, we cool. Eniripsa, Shameful Sacrifice. You go from 3 to 1, Not Even Dead 3 to 2, and then the Strike. It says when one of your characters releases a heart aura, plus 25% to the spell to this spell's damage. Now the new effect is you inflict your hero's attack, and when one of your characters releases a heart aura, plus 35% to this spell's damage. So releasing a bunch of heart auras and then I would assume that it's a spell. You play the spell, da 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 da. Now it's going to do a lot more damage based off of that. How many of the heart auras that you have released? I could be wrong though. That's just what I'm thinking. Now, the Kokodo brush. This is a class that I was like, yo, this is one that I've been on the side investing into and leveling up. The companions for the Quilby and Qatar build. Based off of what I was seeing, man, I was thinking that it was gonna get nerfed. I thought it was gonna get nerfed, and they're saying that the offensive and defensive decks were already satisfactory. We've shorn up a few aspects of the character, and they've adjusted Rufus upwards, so Rufus gets a little buff. That's cool. So Paintbrush Strike, instead of 50% of your character's armor, you're now doing 100% of your character's armor on opponent. When you summon a companion, instead of giving them 50% of your hero's attack as armor on all your companions, now it's 100% of your attack as armor to all your companions. That's going to be pretty cool. Make them a little bit beefier. And then the old spawn effect, you gain 200% of your hero's attack as armor. Now it says you gain 50% of your hero's attack and 200% of Rufus's attack as armor. So maybe the math works in his favor to where he's a little bit tankier, because at least at the higher level dungeons, you know, the level 100 dungeons, them boys hit. And you know, your pets, your companions, they're pretty weak. So you know, if this gives him more survivability, mathematically speaking, then that's great. That's awesome. The scalpel, however you want to say it, don't really know too much about it, but in the thought process, right? This was pretty interesting. Inflicts your hero's attack on the opponents with the most and the least health. Okay. Now the new effect is inflicts your hero's attack on the opponent with the least health, and then on the one with the most health. So, you know, maybe that changes something there. That could be interesting. I'm not 100% sure. And then on this one, we got heals your hero. When one of your companions performs an attack, heals your hero for 25% of their attack. So I would assume the companion's attack, now it's 50% of their attack. So could be interesting. Maybe they spec into that, get a little bit more companion play. Maybe they don't. Now, Voracious Blade. They've modified the method used to calculate Voracious Vitality to that the attack gain no longer takes into account the other gains from bonuses, and so then they're saying they've also modified how the Voracious move skill works so that the hero no longer inflicts their attacks twice on a main target. So maybe this changes up the core gameplay of the videos that I've seen of this class, because I've seen people literally on turn hit dude and like go pick up a thing and then go hit dude again and then like do all some other stuff, and it was just crazy, man. It was just crazy. So this one says modification in the attack gain calculation method. At the old effect is your hero gains 1% of their max health as attack. Now you're getting 3% of your max health, so that could just be calculating the difference to kind of help move that upwards. And then the old Voracious move, 50% of their attack on surrounding opponents. Now it inflicts 50% of their attack on other surrounding opponents. Now, quite honestly, I don't really know what that means. The wording is obviously different. I just don't know, like maybe you stood on it and maybe it was just like the 4 cells, but now it might be all 8 cells around you. Honestly quite couldn't tell you, or maybe they did it backwards. Instead of the 8 cells, it's just the 4 cells, the cardinal cells. I don't know. The Tamashi Amber, this one was the one with the balls, the Nocturians. I called these the balls. When you summon one, it used to copy your hero's heart auras, you get 10% attack per heart aura. Now it's 15. You summon a Nocturian with this one, it's plus 75% to your hero for the turn. But then I don't really know, maybe they copy pasted this one twice. I don't know. So maybe it used to be like smaller and now it's bigger. I don't really know. I don't really know what they did with that one. And then on this one, inflicts 50% of their attack. Now it does 60%, so a little buff on that one. The Dephasing Gem. It says that they lack depth, and so they were given a little bit more power, and they're gonna give them a little bit more attention to work more on their identity. So sounds like more of a band-aid than anything. We're just gonna increase your actual strength, not really the identity of who you are. You know, Mewtwo, who am I, what is my purpose, type of deal. So when your hero's dephased 20%, it used to be, now it's 30% to your next spell's damage per opponent gone through, so that's pretty big. And then on the old effect for the dephased spirits, when an ally or opponent dies, it places one spirit heart around them. The new effect, when your hero loses a heart aura, you place one spirit heart on a cell adjacent to a random opponent. Now that one, to me, kind of makes a little bit more sense to say, man, I don't want to have my companion die, or like me kill my companion, or, you know, an opponent dies and then I get it. To me, this feels like it has a little bit more flow to it. When I use or lose my heart aura, then I get a spirit heart on a cell, you know, to a random opponent. I feel like that could be a little bit more interesting. And then the spirit heart, it says the old effect, when an ally stops on it, you get 5% of their max health at the end of the turn. It self-destructs and inflicts 30% of your hero's attack. Now they heal for 10% instead, and then that same 30%. The Yops, we've slightly lowered their dex power and improved the functionality of two passives that are not chosen by players. So the Bovalor Oroke. Okay. Is that the shield charging one? It says when your hero charges, inflicts 50% of their attack on opponents around the target. When your hero charges, inflicts 35% of their attack on the target and opponents around the target. So now that makes it sound on opponents around the target. On the target and opponent. So now it sounds like you get a little bit more juice on the dude that you actually hit. So you hit the dude, and then it does the damage on the dude that you just hit, plus all the dudes around him. So I feel like that's a little buff. Now it does take away the actual damage, but I feel like it's a little buff. Maybe. Just a smaller buff. To the single target damage. The push, when your hero charges, pushes the target as many cells as were covered. 25% of your attack bonus is converted into collision damage. Now it says pushes the target one cell plus the number of cells gone through during the charge. 35% of your attack bonus is converted into collision damage. So a nice little buff there. And then the wording change, I feel like could have a interesting effect. Don't really know though. This is the one. I think if it's the one with the shield, this is the one that I wanted to try, and that I will try in the future. Then on this, it's the same thing, copy pasted. So I don't really know what we got going on there. Yeah, don't really know what we have going on here. And then on Ghostly Charge, we have your hero charges an inline character up to 5 cells away and inflicts their attack on them. That used to be the thing. And now it says inflicts 80% of their attack. So I don't know, maybe that's a small little nerf. Maybe they have it backwards, because why would you want to nerf it? I don't know, maybe this spell was just overly good, and so it had to be nerfed. Not 100% sure, but sometimes when they have like the same thing here, when they have the same thing, it makes me think like, okay, well, is the next one like a potential mess up? You know, kind of a little scary. They were so the flamboyant Kasai, this hero, was overpowerful, and they've adjusted their power downwards, and they'll be paying close attention to it. I think, was this the one where it's like it had like the sword auras, and then you would attack and it would hit a sword aura, and then because you did a sword aura, it would do some other stuff, and because you did the other stuff, it'd drop another sword aura or something like that. I think maybe, I don't know. But it says when you apply a state, it used to inflict 50% of your hero's attack. Now it's 40% of your hero's attack around them. Oh, it says I guess I just didn't put elemental state on the old one. Now that Kasai magic, 10% of your elemental damage per sword aura, that got a buff to its 15, so maybe it's to help offset something, or maybe change up how the gameplay is of the character, maybe for different builds. Brutal Fair Blade. They said that this one needed to be adjusted downwards. So, inflicts 50% of their armor on the target as extra damage. Now it's 60%. That doesn't sound downwards to me. It sounds upwards. But, oh, the Fairblade Master. Here we go. When you trigger your melee, your hero gains 20% of their attack. Now they're only gaining 15%. Oh, and then they increase the spell cost from 6 to 7. That sucks. Let's see. The Stalactos Glaive. They gain slightly too much armor for an attack-oriented build. Ooh, I wonder if that's gonna hurt them, like, a lot. They used to inflict 25% of their hero's attack. Now they do 40%. And then when you were D-phase, they would gain 50% attack as armor per opponent gone through. Now they only gain 40% per opponent gone through. Wow. We're satisfied with this hero's identity. We've given them a slight boost in their offensive dex. So the Spectre Souls used to gain 20, now they do 25%. And then sacrificing an ally inflicts 100% of your hero's attack on an adjacent opponent. Now it does 200%. This one sounds pretty fat. That sounds pretty fat. This was also the class that my dad played, and so I don't know how good or bad that'll help him. So, you know, maybe he uses these, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. We'll have to see. The Shram. So this is a class that I haven't gotten into yet. But I know that when we were first playing, Baguette used to do like, he can be doing like 1200 damage on one dude. And they were saying that it lacked overall power. So we got some spell costs going down, 3 to 2, 6 to 5. The elemental spells Descent. It used to do 21, now it does 35. The SRAM Trap, 21 to 24, 19 to 22, 16 to 18, 13 to 14, 19 to 22. But then with this one, the Spawn, -2 movements. Now it's -1 movement, since there's a little bit more damage there. With this guy, their power was slightly below average. We've given them a big boost. What do you mean, a big boost? When Astral is applied, it inflicts 75% of your hero's attack. Now it's 250. The effect no longer works when Astral is applied by an ally. Oh. So on this one, it sounds like you want to just put one on everybody and then let this dude do make them Astral. That's crazy. 250% attack. It used to be 10% to your elemental spell damage per opponent with an elemental state. And then the Killing Blow, plus 5% to your elemental spell damage. Now it's 25% per opponent, and it's 20% to your elemental spell damage. That's pretty big. They were not lying when they said a big boost. Then we got, used to be 15 and 10, now it's 25 and 15 for the Shugen power. Yo, I might have to look into this guy. What the heck? Shugen Strategy. Addition. They didn't take anything away or change it. They just said, we're going to give you 125% to your trap damage. Good Lord, have mercy. Ken Kartana. Slightly less than what we've expected. We've made a slight adjustment to their power. When your hero triggers a SRAM trap, inflicts 75% on surrounding opponents. Now it's 70%. Huh. Oh, that's the base passive. Okay. And now it used to be 75%, now it's 70%. So instead of 150%, 140%. Okay. That's pretty big. And then the Kartana Push. Old effect. When your hero triggers an allied SRAM trap. Pushes adjacent opponents 3 cells. 25% of your attack bonuses are converted into collision. Now it's 40%. Wow. Dang, dude. This hero has interesting potential, but they were ignored because they're too weak compared to other heroes. We've sharpened their weapon in this version. Wow. Okay. When one of your traps is triggered, your hero used to heal 50. Now they heal 80%. Wow. That's... I mean, I like the healing type stuff, so this one could be interesting. MRI support now heals the character that triggers the trap if they are an ally. Ooh! I wonder if it's 80% of my attack, though. I would assume it's 80% of my attack. And then let's see. Your hero is healed 10%. When your hero is healed, 10% attack to allies and 5% damage to your elemental spells for the turn. Now it's 15% and 15 per. Dang! Okay, cool. Over vitality. When your hero is healed, 3% of their health on adjacent opponents. Now it's 5%. Wow. But here's the issue that I have with that. It's just on your health. So the lower that your health is, the lower your damage will be. So you want to stay as high health as possible. That's a very interesting playstyle. When one of your traps is triggered, confers dephasing on your hero and 100% attack till the end of the turn. Now it's 125%. Base attack for this spell, Amurai Blade, goes from 15 down to 5. The addition spawn gains 35% of your hero's attack. Okay. The Shuriken Shiv, the hero's overall playstyle is most satisfactory. We gave him a small boost. The Slip Trap, 21 to 24. When you trigger Conspiracy, instead of 25%, now it's 35%. When you trigger Conspiracy, it used to be 25%, now it's 60% to your trap damage. When an opponent activates this, your opponent teleports to an adjacent cell and inflicts their attack on them. When an opponent activates a Shuriken Slip Trap, your hero teleports. Oh, so instead of doing just your full attack, now you do 110% of your attack. Okay, that's not bad. I wonder if this spell would go like pretty crazy with the Spiritual Armband. Oh man, dude, could you imagine when you? Because I think this is the class that Baguette played. He would like push somebody and he would into a trap and then he would teleport and attack him. But then if you have the Spiritual Armband, in theory you could also attack him. Oh, but maybe he only got the ability to push from the armband that he was using. Dang. Okay, that would have been crazy. Draw your next Conspiracy spell. Releases one of your Trapper auras. Adds the Shuriken Slip Trap spell to your hand instead. So I guess you get to keep your Trapper aura. Okay. The aura she shears. This hero was overpowerful with Collision build, which will be weakened in the version with 0.13. They've taken the opportunity to improve the Orochi Power Hero skill, which players weren't using. So 10% of your hero's attack for each of your traps. Now it's 15% of your hero's attack and 15% of your spell damage for each of your traps on the field. Okay. xelor. Now xelor, I played the Taco. On the Taco, I had my own little build that it was really just made for group play. But I feel like even in group play, I wasn't able to perform up to the level that I wanted to. So I'm going to have to change his build. But it looks like for some of these things, this is a little buff from 8 action points down to 7. And then this is also interesting. It used to inflict your Sinistra's plating on opponents around them and then draw your next Sinistra. Now it does 200% of your Sinistra's plating on opponents around them, and then it draws the next spell. Which to me, this is really good because, most of the Sinistras don't have that much plating anyway, so, a little bit of a tickle now to like a sneeze on them. A little bit better. Rhythm, 6 to 5. Heroes' power is acceptable. We've modified some of their little played tools slightly. So the Taco power, I don't know how I feel about this. So it says 5% damage per remaining action point down to a flat 5 damage per remaining action point. I don't know if that's good or not. I really don't. So that's kind of weird to me. Then Taco Teleportation goes down from 6 cost to 5 cost. Then the Taco Reserve, instead of 5% per action reserve point, now it's 15%. Pikuzala, heroes' power is a little low, but offset by strong mobility. We've adjusted some of their tools upwards. Now, instead of doing 30% on the most health, now you do 35%. And then when you teleport, it used to gain 10% attack until the end of the turn. Now it's 25%. So that attack stack just be boosting up, because I think their teleport is based off of their attack. I think I could be wrong, but I think that's what I've seen, because I've seen some Pikuzalas like high attack. Maybe this is part of it. I don't know. The Jakan, this is also another one. The Piku I've wanted to make, the Jakan I've also wanted to make. Haven't made them yet. This hero's elemental mage identity has been strengthened with some of their hero skills. Instead of when you consume a state, it does 10 damage, now it does 15. And then instead of 10% to your elemental damage per owl aura, now it's 15%. So little buffs all around. Now this one, the Premium, they were the Puppet Master, but their certain aspects were not ergonomic. So this spell changes from 2 to 1 cost. The old effect. When an allied companion performs an attack, it triggers the effect of the Sinistro. Now, it triggers the effect of your Sinistros when your allied companion attacks. But when you summon the mechanism, they get 100% plating. I feel like adding a bunch of plating to your mechanisms is really a good move, because this allows you to keep them alive for a little bit longer. But maybe it doesn't, and maybe that's not good. I don't know. Maybe you never take this. I don't know. But this class, I've seen like mechanism rings and stuff, like plating rings, and it's made me get the cogwheels moving a little bit. For the recycling, instead of when they're destroyed, now it's when they're placed. That to me makes a lot more sense, because why would I want my Sinistro that's supposed to help me dead? You know. So now you just get those 2 gauges when you build a Sinistro. The motivation, you can cast an activation spell on an allied companion to make them replay their turn. Okay. Now, you can cast an activation spell on an allied companion to make them replay their turn. But spawn by one of your companions plus 20% health to your companions. Now, this is one of the phrases that I've not really understood. Do I have to place my companion next to my hero, or do I have to place my companion next to like a mechanism to get that little buff there? That's something that I don't really know, so somehow I had to figure out. Now, it used to be when an allied companion dies, transform your Sinistros, but if you spawn by one of your companions, transform your Sinistros in play. So this one just lets you get you the juice Sinistro immediately. I think that could be really cool. Maybe run this with the premium motivation, or maybe run that with the recycling, or with the sequence. I mean, man, the premium. Hey, I might have to make this next, dude. This is looking pretty fun. The Gerpapa. Had a drastic impact on their kit. We've readjusted some of their tools upwards. So at the end of the turn, inflicting 50% on opponents around each of your Sinistros. Now it's 60%. Used to heal you for 50%. Now it's up to 70% of your attack, which that's pretty huge. And then the recharge, instead of destroying it, now it's when you build a Sinistro, it inflicts 100% of your hero's attack around it. That to me, again, building instead of destroying, I think that adds just more elements to your gameplay. I think that's really good. Alright, now we're going into the equipment. This is where I found a lot of interesting things. I think it's going to change up a lot of how we've been looking at the game as of recent. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. We've taken an opportunity to lower the survivability of builds that focus exclusively on attack. So the Hoity armband, your hero gains 25% of their attack as armor. Now, when it says it's a skill, I would assume it's like the investment for the rune that they would do. This one got nerfed. Instead of 10% crit, now it's 5. And then they posted that twice, so I don't know why they did that. This one is one that I have been wanting to make a build for or around or something. Heals your character 25% of the hero's attack. Now it's 35%. This one also I thought could have been very good, but it was like kind of weird. This is a common one, the Ersatz. 15% of your spell damage. The skill reworked. Oh wait, it's an addition you get 15% of your spell damage. Oh, that could be really huge. The skill reworked. Instead of this companion chest, glad we got that out of there. Now we get more spell damage. This is huge. I feel like this could go really well for somebody. For a couple different spell classes. Hell, maybe this will even be good on that Xander's though. The Scammer. I don't know what one this one is. Oh no, I do. 2 cells in front of the hero. I thought that was interesting, but I didn't really think it could be that great. Considering if you get cornered and then you have an enemy on each side of you, they don't go and stack there, they just stand still. But now it says it hits opponents adjacent to the target. Well, adjacent to the target, that's 4 spots, you know, north, south, east, and west, your cardinal positions. That could be really good. The renaming of these: Rocky Soul, Rainy Soul, Flaming Soul, Lightning Soul. Okay, cool. The Blizzard armband, it says does 40% damage if the target is ventilated on the attack, plus 40% damage on your attack, and then 20% to your spell damage. Now it's a flat 25 damage. So the higher your damage goes, so like if you have 100 attack and then you get plus 40% damage, right, that'd be 140 damage. But if you have 100 attack, now it's only 125. So I feel like this is part of them lowering the survivability that focuses on exclusively attack. Because again, you know, if you're focusing attack, you know, the higher your attack is, the more the percentage will go, right? But if you have a lower attack, then, you know, a flat 25 is way better. They did that for all of the other ones that do ventilated, oiled, wet, and muddy. The Flaming Push armband, addition to the description: at the start of the fight, plus 30% to your collision damage. And that's for the Flaming, Lightning, Rainy, and Rocky armbands. This one I think could be very interesting. Even though they were taken away from collision, adding more collision percent damage, maybe it's like an offset, I don't know, but hey, I'll take it. These rings, now I'll have to check on these rings because I don't really know. Yeah, I do remember it just saying that your lightnings give you health steal, but now it just says your lightnings give you 4 health points. I don't really know how much of a comparison that is. I do want to check that really fast, because to me that could be a big change. I was on the Amortson. Gives me 10 points back. Wow, they refunded all my stuff on this. That really makes me wonder, because my Rains give me 10 health points back. Dude, I used to be healing like my whole attack, because, you know, on my attack I would get rain. Oh man, I don't know if that's a buff or a nerf. Man, I'm gonna have to check that. Man, I got a lot of stuff to be checking out, man. So these rings, I don't know if that's good or bad. The Horrific Ring, your drain goes down from 40 to 35%. Kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. All these rings, these next 4 rings, that used to have 10% health to your companions. Now it says triggers an additional rain, flame, rock, or lightning if they have the corresponding elemental effect on them. So that could be interesting, because then, you know, your flames and your lightnings and all that. Maybe this ring can go with this ring. That could be interesting. The Occult, plus 10% to your companions. Now it's given with if the opponent has an astral state, it triggers an extra shadow. This ring, instead of 50% to the next spell's damage, it does 100% if 3 people are hit. The Optimal Ring went down from a deck 15 to a deck 12. I feel like this is a huge change. Maybe for deck 12 playing classes, this could be very huge. Now here's one that I was, you know, pretty interested in when it was at 30%. When you summon a mechanism, you get 30% plating, but now when you summon it, it gets 75%, and then the old effect, instead of 40, now you get 75, so you're getting 150% plating to your mechanism. I think that could be really fat. and then you get 20% spell damage instead of 10% health to your companions. I think this was a great change. Great change. The hoo-hoo, instead of 10% to your companions, let's get rid of that. If you're deck 12, you get an extra ether gauge. This could be huge, depending on the class or what you're looking to do with your class. Now, this ring, at the start of the turn, plus 5% attack to your companions for the turn for each opponent with a state. Now it's plus 5% for the turn per gauge generated during the combat. This could be very, very interesting. Very interesting. And then it does the same thing with the skill. Instead of 5, now you got 10 once you invest this one. The Ornitho, your companions get 20% max health. And we're getting rid of these chests. I'm glad to see that. Give them attack, give them health. That's cool with me. The Muscapal, instead of getting 50% of your hero's attack as armor, now your companions will get 100%. Again, on the Bash, instead of 100% attack as armor to the hero, you get 200%. For this one, confers 10% max health as armor, now it's 20%. Then the Nobly, the collision damage goes from 30 to 40%, and then you get a buff on the collision damage again, 20% to 40%. So I mean, you know, are we buffing the collision damage? Are we nerfing the collision damage? What are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? But hey, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. The companions. Now, I'm actually really sad about the companions, man. So personal addition, they get a spawn +1 or action reserve point. Cool. Now look at this. We've made major changes to the efficiency of seagulls in the game. Currently, 3 of them have considerable power for ridiculously low cost, thanks notably to their skills. 100%, that is true. We therefore decided to harmonize Yaki, Tika, and Delta with Nugget's level. Why not take Nugget up instead of taking the 3 down? That's just me, though. The big winners from this change will be the Albatrosses, who we've given new, more attractive skills. Okay, so Yaki, Tika, and Delta. Instead of the reserve point, the draw spell, or the conferring of the shield, they just get 100% attack. Bro, you're dealing like 28 to 30 damage. I don't care. I don't care. Bro, y'all could have given Nugget something to make him juiced up there too, man. Unfortunate. Caesar, Terry, Pris, and Columba, they took out their equipment chest and gave them 100% spawn attack for Caesar. There's the draw spell on Terry, the gain shield on Pris, and then the reserve point on Columba. So it's kind of like transferred onto a little bit higher cost. Instead of a 2 cost, I think these are the 4 cost spells or companions. And if it's not, then it might be like the multi-cost, like instead of 2 fire going to the 4 fire, I think it could be like the 3 fire and 1 or whatever. But still, I understand the reasoning for it. It does kind of suck though. Susie's base attack 15 to 25, that's cool, and then she gets more attack, that's cool. Taking out the super equipment chest, I'm totally fine with that. The companions with elemental spell cost reductions are very powerful, notably with all the existing draw tools. There's skills that lower the AP cost of spells in hand on attack, even further make up the aspect that makes them too powerful in single element decks. In place of these skills, we've given them more survivability. Yeah, so I'm just not gonna use them. I don't care about them getting this physical protection. Like, the mobs are still gonna hit, like, probably 1 or 2 shot them. I don't care. Like, their whole thing was, yo, I got a juiced attack in my hand. Let me get, like, 1 or 2 attacks in if I'm lucky. And then, let them die. Or, for some of them, just let them live for a super long time. And then, they'll still get it. Because it used to be, if they're alive, you get the -1. With the attack, it'd be -2, right? Now, you just get that flat -1. Bro, I don't care no more, man. Get them out my hand. Get them out my deck. I don't like them. The companions, Khan, Carcass, and Nox didn't have family skills. I'm gonna be real. I did not mind Nox not having a supervillain companion equip. I didn't mind that. Because I actually liked not, like, just playing the one supervillain and then 3 empty slots. Now it's like, if I use him, I gotta have another supervillain. Kind of sucks, but... And I don't have to, but it just feel like I'm missing out on it, right? So that's all the companions and PvP changes. They're working on that. System of improvements. You know, they got this little deal going on here. Bug fixes. This, I think, is actually really important. The Picozalla passive and the Picozalla power hero skill no longer trigger on invulnerable opponents. That's really good. The Blunderbuss hero skill no longer generates more aura changes than intended. Equipment, the spiritual armband's effect now depends on the companion's attack instead of the hero's attack. Which that one... the lightning strike armband's attack properly targets the target and not the wearer. Passive stats of several pieces of equipment have been corrected. The limit ring upgrade of 25% to your spell damage in a random element now applies properly. And then the obelisk ring additional effect skill triggers properly. They fixed a bunch of spells. Let's see. I don't really... The artillery spell now properly casts all darts that the player has. That's nice. A lot of these other ones I'm not really too sure about. The Gultard's Leap properly displays its area effect. Quilby's properly displays. The spells with melee effects that give armor or heals apply properly if the target dies from the spell damage. That's good too. The Companions triggers the Joris's gang effect. Gets the right amount of armor. Nox's gauge drops with the resummon. That's actually really big. Lilthorn no longer lets you draw a spell with a critical hit if the skill's not unlocked. That's good, because it works as intended. The spell damage bonus granted by Jahash properly disappears after his death. That is good, because it was super weird having him dead and you could still juice. And then they've got these other ones here. They fixed these quests, and then they've got some miscellaneous stuff here too. But overall, I'm gonna be real. For a patch, dude, this is huge. This was like 40-50 minutes of just straight patch notes, just reading the patch notes, talking about the patch notes. Dudes, this is huge. There's so much stuff to do, so much stuff to check out, and so many different changes that can make you think, okay, now I gotta change my deck. Do I gotta reinvest different things? Do I gotta do da 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 da? And this, to me, huge, really good. Love to see these changes, and quite honestly, I can't wait to get my hands on them and go play in them and just, you know, indulge more into the world of Waven. This was a super long video. This was a super big patch note update, and I'll try to trim them down depending on their segments. But if y'all made it this far or just skipped around, I appreciate y'all watching the video, checking it out. I'm gonna have a lot more Waven content in the upcoming future, so I appreciate it very, very much. If y'all like the video, please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that goodness. You know, I stream the game as well. I do stream super late at night in the Central Standard Time Zone, so if y'all want to check me out there, check me out. Otherwise, hope y'all have a good one. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.